never to be seen. To a place where the air's always filled with screams. So hot that the land only grows weeds. A place filled with demons and ghosts, tumbleweeds. Betrayed by some comrades at too brute. I might get you all back. It's not if, no it's when. Better watch out, cause I'm coming for revenge. I'ma train hard, I'ma go far. I will learn with every new scar. Got a cold heart, yeah, I'm feeling arc. Enemies give me energy from the start. Got an addiction to winning, so I will work till I get it. The sweat is dripping, I'm in it, I'll never stop till I finish. I'm feeling demons possessing, they took a hold of my vessel. The energy of a devil, yeah. A new man, a new me. Better watch out, you ain't never seen a beast. I don't always have control, he could be me. Got a chip on his shoulder and he got some sharp teeth. Anyone in my way, and anyone who betrayed, anyone I have to face, I'll wipe them out like the plague.
Turn right onto Beach Road.
Bullets fly through the air. If you got a death wish, come outside, don't be scared. Yeah, I'm more than prepared. I've been prepping for this day and now it's finally here. Better watch out, cause I'm back now. New and improved, head filled with no doubts. They let the beast out, I let them feast now. I will be at the top, can't keep me down. A new man, a new me. Better watch out, you ain't never seen a beast. I don't always have control, he could be me. Got a chip on his shoulder and he got some sharp teeth. Anyone in my way.
Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Nigel from the Norfolk Fishing Channel. Just going to do a second part of the series today. Stick float on the river. What you're going to need: rods, reels, line, floats. So it's going to be part 2. I was going to do 2 in one day, so while I'm here, but it's fishing well, and I've just switched over. I've just set up the stick float rods, a couple of stick float rods, a couple of bolo rods, and it's evident straight away that the stick float's so much better. You get better presentation. The bites are coming thick and fast. So just going to keep the bait going in. So basically, yeah, stick float fishing on the river. We've got three rods set up. We'll start with this one. I got 14-foot Zebco trophy match rod. Sorry about that. Some Polish guy's giving me squit for float fishing here on the river because he wants to come and sit beside me and fish. But 20 odd pegs up there. I've explained to him I'm doing a film. I'll be here till 1 o'clock. But he's screaming and shouting that this is for feeder fishing only. You can get 2 or 3 people on here, but it's a free river. So anyway, yeah, I'm using a 14-foot Zebco trophy match. I've got a Abu 1044 close face reel on here, 2.1 float fish line. All the way down. I've just plumbed up using the Waggler float. I use an ultra big stick, 5BB. I've got 4BB as a bulk, or 2BB and some smaller number 1 shots, and a big number 6 and 2 number 8 stops as droppers. 12-inch hook length, it's 1.9 pound line, and a Camazon B711 size 18 hook. So, but just having the bulk down is allowing me to get a bit better control in the flow. Obviously the roach want to be sitting just off the bottom I think today, so again, if you just cast out, keep the line behind the float, but that bolt's getting down, it's keeping the presentation nice and straight, and the bottom's sort of like 3 foot of the water, and I've just got a slow drop. But the bites are a lot cleaner, float's going under straight away nice and clean. It's a lot easier to see the bites. I don't know if you saw that, but that float nearly lifted out the water there. That tells me the fish had gone down for it and come back up. Nice roach. Okay, as I say, so what you're going to need for stick float fishing on the river. You're going to need a waggler rod or stick float rod, preferably something with a bit more fast action to it, and I would say minimum you want to be 13 foot. I mean, this is a deep river, big deep river, but I mean, it's, you know, depending where you're fishing, but 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 foot rod, and that's just going to allow you to get control of obviously the depth, and keep the float and the rod tip behind the float and control the float down the swim. So you want a nice long balanced rod. This is a 15 foot version, and reel again, if you're going to need something, I wouldn't go any more than 3,000 for waggler fishing and stick float fishing on rivers. So 3,000 size reel. I prefer these when I'm stick float fishing, close faced reel, especially if the wind gets up, and it's just a lot easier to feather the line with one finger as it's coming out the spool, and you can slow it down by just gently squeezing the line and slowing the float, and just one quick turn and you're into the fish. Again, I wouldn't go any sort of heavier than like 2.5 pound main line and about a 2 pound bottom, or I've got 1.7 pound bottom on here, and fine size 18 fine wire hook, and then stick floats. So I've started off with your traditional cane and balsa style stick float, which is good for when there's not too much flow on the river. It's nice and gentle, and you can just obviously the balsa, the light at the top, and a heavy cane or ligman, or it could be a balsa and it could be a wire stem. They're all made up of different materials, but for the lightest sort of work I prefer the balsa top. This one's got a bit of a shoulder on it, so you can just hold it back a little bit. I've got another one here, similar. This is balsa and ligman. It's got a plastic stem into it. It's a bit heavier. This allows it to cock a bit more. Because I'm fishing with it bolt down, it's not going to be an overhead cast with this, because you're going to end up with everything looping and sort of like cartwheeling through the air. So it's got to be a nice gentle sideways sort of underarm flick. Just turn you around. So I'm going to let the line loose, hold the line, put a slight bend in the rod, and it's going to be a gentle, and then feather the line, and then just stop it before it goes in and let the bolt go past the float. And again, I'm just going to mend the line, pull it behind the float. I'm starting to put a little bit more ground bait through now. I want to try and keep the fish down because I'm using a bulk. So I'll try and keep the fish down. I'm still loose feeding because I still want to bring fish into the area. But I'm seeing the bites a lot better. The float's disappearing straight away. With the waggler, they were starting to get away with the bait and do me a few times, and it's hard to spot them. Nice, not really a swinger that one. Nice hybrid. I'll go through all the rods that I've got in a minute. So we're just doing the same principle as the waggler. Feeding little off them. I've got a ground bait there laced with casters, hemp, dead maggots. My other rod I got set up. Leader 15 to 17 foot. I've got it set up in the 17 foot. Again, I've got bulk down rig on this one because I'm expecting the flow to start picking up. I've got one of these Preston 8x4 dome top with a wire stem. The wire just gets the float cocked straight away, holds it really stable in the water. Again, I've got a 2 pound hook length, a bulk of number ones there, and 2 big droppers. Again, that's down to a 1.7 pound hook length and a size 20 B711. Again, I'm just using a Daiwa 120M close face reel. I've been fishing this one a little bit further out, and I'm using this when pace gets up a bit. One more I've got for fishing in the middle later on when it goes quiet. I expect it to be if I'm not sure, but if the flow really starts to pick up and get really pacey, I've got like a Bolo rig here. It's a Zebco Trophy telly or Bolo rod. It's a 17.5 foot, this one. Great big Avon style float on here. Yeah, as I was saying, I've got a big Avon float, 5BB Ivan marks. Really old float, but really good. It's got poly top there, really buoyant. Nice big shoulder to hold it back really hard. I've got 3 pound main line on here. Stepped it up a little bit. I've got 4BB, 1 number 1 and 1 number 1 dropper. Kept it really simple with this. Don't want any tangles, as I say, and that's down to, again, 1.9 steel style hook length with a size 18 Camazon B512 hook. And I've just got a Shakespeare 4000 reel on there, the old carbon reel. Open standard reel on this one. It just balances this rod. This rod's a bit heavier, a bit beefier. And it just balances the rod a lot nicer with the bigger reel. I didn't want anything too light on there where it's going to be, tried it before with a close face reel or a smaller reel, it just doesn't sit right, but slightly bigger reel, it just feels a lot better, but I won't be using that just yet. This ground bait's on the dryish side, it's not too dry, but I want it that way because I want it to explode when it hits the water and all the particles will sort of like go down with it. I don't want it too wet. I want it quite active and drawing fish into the area. So when you're casting the bulk down, you just want a gentle lob to the side, little flick, and then just dab the line, make sure the weight goes beyond the float. Get a bit of skim on the water now, and I'm just finding it a bit difficult to see the float. I might have to go back to the waggler or move to a different float. That's down there. I've just messed around with the shot and that, took all those little droppers off and just basically put BBs on there, keep it nice and clean and neat. I don't want any tangling. Just 2 little droppers. It just means I can now target the fish where I want them to be, just down on the bottom. And I think today, with this last couple of weeks, with a lot of rain gone in, and even though it's still warm, some days they're really boiling on the surface here and what will come up, but just the way they're feeding today, I think they want to stay down in that bottom sort of 2/3. And just a good selection. It always take a good selection. You know, the river always changes from day to day, up, down. Today it's just flowing very, very slow. Times down here went on a big flood. It can be absolutely racing through. You'll need, as I say, I could even need the big one to, you know, sometimes you're coming down here, you're 6 grams, 7 grams. So, but today it's not too bad, and it's just so much easier. I'll tie them on here, I have a loop at the end, and I just do a 7-turn blood knot to the line. I'm going to take the float off the rubbers, push the rubbers over the knot, put the float back on, and then adjust it for the depth. We're all there ready to go. I think later on what I'll do is I'll keep one of these out and I'll just put one of the Where's it gone? This one here. I'll put the little Drennan one on, see if we can get anything, any dace and bleak and stuff on the drop. Oh. See if we've got to drop down the peg a little bit as well. Nice roach. I'll just with my stick floats and that now, I find it so much easier to store them all, set them all up at home, put them on winders, just like the have a nice selection. I've got loads in here, but I'll just get a few out. Some different kinds. That'll do for now. Yeah, I've got loads of bits and pieces in here, so all from, we can even try these later on. So really small light stick floats, again like the waggler earlier on. You can just literally off the end of the rod tip, a couple of number 6s. These, you know, this one very light one. This is an old leader one. Takes about 3 number 6s on that one. Fishing on the drop, fishing for some roach and dace. Again, this one as well. It's an old Drennan one. It's got 1 BB. It's just shot with number 8s and number 10s. Just fishing for bleak and dace on the surface. Then they go all the way up to these spigot avons, which is 9 BB. You've got a really bulbous top here and a thick bristle, and if you want fish meat or corn, or you're just in a really turbulent swim coming out of a weir, there's lots of rocks and it's boiling, we want big bulk down. I've got an Olivet on this one, so really hold it steady. But I'll keep them all on here. Again, this is a nice one. I've had this since I was about 18. An old ultra wire 4 BB stick. It's caught me so many fish on that one. You got the wire, a nice wire stem, and you got the balsa top. Really good float when it's sort of like a little bit of turbulence, but not too much. Things are starting to come together now, starting to get a bite of chop. Just mixing that damper ground bait up, feeding more through the ground bait, and then going on the bulk rig on the stick float rather than the waggler. Missed that one. Let's put a bit of tear on the hook and see if we can get a bite on tears. got a little tub here. I'm just going to hook it and get the push it round onto the bend of the hook, and then have the point showing. I call them sweeties for road. They're like little gobstoppers. They love them. If they start taking tears, it really does sort out a bigger, better quality roach and rod. I think the peg just starts to shallow up a little bit over there. Saying that tears well. Try that again. That's a big bolt for a river. Missed it. I don't know, but I missed it. Let's try that again. Well, just that little rest seems to have done all the good. I've just mixed up a load more ground bait. I've just done just made it a little bit more, a little damper, not too wet. I think it's a big high tide today. There's a lot of water in it. And it's a steady flow. I can tell they want to be down, so I just made some more ground bait up. It's a little bit, a little bit firmer. And what I'll probably do is start doing it. Start putting a little nugget of ground bait in pretty much every trot through, I think. I probably will still feed loose feed, but what I'll probably do it every sort of 3 or 4 casts and feed a little bit heavier, less often, more feed. Again, try and keep it down. think that one got more over me. Thought I'd try the cast there, and it's got a good bite, missed it. So I'll bury the hook this time. Hopefully if it's starting to take a caster, then start getting the better quality roach. Floats are alright once the winch drops. As soon as there's a bit of a ripple on there, I'm struggling to see the tip. I might flick over if it gets too much and to the Preston down top one. It's alright at the minute when it's calm. Nothing that time on the caster. We'll get back on the maggot. But when you're float fishing on the river, that's what I was saying earlier on, it's imperative that you have balanced tackle. And what I mean by balanced tackle is the rod and the reel and the line and the float, they all marry up together. Because you're not putting the rod down at any point on a rod rest. I haven't even got a rod rest set today, I'm just using them to keep that if I need it. But you're holding the rod all day long, so you don't want a great big heavy rod, or you don't want a light rod with a great big heavy reel where it's going to be unbalanced. You're holding 17 foot of rod all day, or 15 or whatever. You can't be putting the rod on its rod rest when you're waggler fishing or stick float fishing on a river. A little bit wet of this mix. Red maggot seems to be the best today by a long way. But what I'll do is I'll have this cast, rubbish cast, and then I'm going to try a tear on the hook and see if there's any decent roach starting to take the tear. Flow's starting to ease up a bit. It's gone really slow at the minute. Really slow. Okay, with this change in line and a bit of the wind, I've just stepped up again. I've just changed to the 17-foot rod. But I can see the float so much better. What I've done is I've put the bolt probably about a good third of the way, almost just under halfway, and I've just left 2 small number 8 droppers spread out the bottom third of the rig. Just to hope to catch anything in that bottom sort of half to the bottom on the drop. Say now, I'm not loose feeding too much. Every 5 minutes, a pouch full. I'm feeding more ground bait pretty much every cast. Small nugget every cast now. And that float is just seems to be following the flow a lot better. I can see it a lot better, but it's either the flow's just picked up all of a sudden, or it's just seems to be riding the river a lot better. I had 3 or 4 bites on the tears, but I bumped them all, felt them, but couldn't connect with any of them. Sometimes they're a bit like that. I've just switched back to the original rig that I was on, the 5BB big stick and the 14-foot Zebco trophy rod. I've just put a slightly longer hook length on. I've just gone down to a 0.8mm, which is 1.8 pound test curve Sil Star line. And I've just switched the hook to 18 Amazon B530, which is the blue one. I had the B511 on there before, and it was just some of the ropes were a bit too big and it was just getting bent out of shape and that. So, and all of a sudden, it's just made the world of difference. I couldn't. The other 2 rods, I couldn't really get a bite, or I was getting bites, but I was missing them. So, just gone back to this. It's slightly lighter. Shame I couldn't. Might paint the tip in a minute white. Put a blob of white on top just so I can see it a little bit better. But it's definitely the best rig so far, or today anyway, I'm using. That was a decent fish. again. I've started introducing more loose feed as well now. Definitely brings the fish into the area. Definitely brings them in. As soon as we stop loose feeding, they drift away. Still keeping the ground bait going in every cast, but you need the loose feed as well. Also, that wasn't far enough out. It's a little bit further out. Feeding more less often. Warm now. Just going to take an inch or two off of this because I think it's just with that longer hook length, it's just starting to trip the bottom of it. Line. Might even have a few bream moving in by the look of it. I think what I'm going to do, just because it's quite a long hook length, I'm just going to put one number 9 stop on the hook length, so I can pull that shot down into play if I need to. Take this jumper off again now. It was starting to rain a minute ago. That's better. Oof. Take this off. What I'm going to do is, while the river's this slow, very slow today, it's gone over. That's the problem when you've got a bolt, you can't have too many shots here, there and everywhere. Probably go back on the waggler in a minute, I think. Started to play around with the rig, and yeah, I've gone back to the original rig. I just put the bulk a bit further down. I've had 3 or 4 decent fish, one after the other. I seem to get a few of these roach skimmer hybrids turning up now. They fight like crazy. It's always a case of, that's a decent fish. Just playing with presentation. They're always there. They're just, as I said before, whenever you pick a few off the shoal, they'll change how they feed, where they sit. I think they've been there all the time, but I just couldn't get the rig right for the last sort of like 45 minutes. Oh, that was lucky. I've started hooking the maggot through the tail because I've had a few that have sort of folded back, even though they're dead. You know, sort of flick back on, whether they're sucking them in and blowing them out, and it's folding the maggot back. But as well, the last 3 fish, I'm casting that a little bit further out now. The next are sort of like 2 or 3 foot. I've just stepped up the loose feed as well. Just feeding every sort of 4 or 5 fish, but that's better. 2 good pouches. I don't like the downstream wind. Missed that one. Just gone on sweet cum. I've had three or four really nice roach on sweet cum, all on the same spot. So what I've decided to do is start to feed this line about 6 grains just down here. So I dropped it in when I was unhooking a fish. Had a nice roach down here as well. So still carrying on doing exactly the same as what I was doing before. I'm just trying a bit of corn. I've got about another 3 pints of ground bait here. I've put a load of casters, sweet corn, dead maggots, pent through it. Just feed a small nugget pretty much every time now until that's all gone. And it'll be about time to pack up and just have a look what we've got. I'm going to try this line down here on a waggler where they're feeding the corn. Corn seems to sort of better fish out here. Got decent roach, rudd, hybrids. You wouldn't really normally associate putting sweet corn on and stick float fishing, but I think with that much bait going in here and feeding for bream and that, and they're that used to it, you seem to be taking this more confidently than anything else. Just the right line you seem to catch the fish on. It's not too far out and not too close in him. That I know doesn't make much sense, but that's not far enough out. That's it. Just on that line there. Some nice fish on sweet corn. And the float's just burying. Not like the maggots or casters or anything else that dithering around with it. It's just burying every time. Here come the old Gestapos. Can I see your license, please? Let's try that again. One after the other in a minute. So I mean, you've got to keep changing, keep experimenting. Lengthen your hook length, shorten your hook length, smaller hook, different baits, deeper, shallower, change your shotting pattern to keep in touch with the fish. They won't always feed exactly the same way all day long. Couldn't see the hook then. I couldn't see the float. taking it on the drop. Oh, it's getting out warm now. First time a bit of sun in about a week. I'm going to put this down in a minute, and then let's see if I can catch a few roach short on corn. I'll just drop a waggler down here. One more, be rude not to, wouldn't it? Oh yeah, I might not. Let's net this one. It's a little bit too big to. I could do, I suppose. But think of the fish. Nice roach. Really. I wanted that sweet corn. Taking it confidently. Well, the fish has really picked up for some reason in the last hour or last half an hour. Chuck on sweet corn. I've even started catapulting some sweet corn over the top as well. Just alliterate the fact that just keep feeding off the small ones. The bigger ones will turn up later on in the day. This rig's definitely by far the best, and I've chopped and changed all day long, but just changed hook length again, slightly shortened it off, and I've just got bulk, 2 number 8 stocks and a good foot hook length there. Doing the business every time. Squeezing that ball really hard. Just casting a little bit further out, stopping it. It seemed to come up right in front of me a little bit, but just right on that line, same line all the time. It's too close so I don't get a bite. That's probably a bit far out. That there. Really squeezing the ground bait. That's better. Ooh, pulled out of that one. Still feeding down here. Might stay a little bit longer today if it's going to get the going's going to be this good. Well, the tide's turned now, guys. We've got a nice steady, that's alright, I'll just talk to the camera. It's a nice steady flow on it. I'm just getting a bite of chock on sweet corn. That's I just started feeding sweet corn by hand. Loose feeding it. I'm getting quality roach after roach after roach. Nearly out of bait. Another half an hour I'll be going home. Where I want to be. A bit further out. I'll get this one in and have a look what's in the net and see what we got. I'll go and get the landing net head and we'll see what we do. Right guys, there you go, it's a decent bag of fish. It's a nice rod. Roach, there's about 20 odd pound in there. All on a stick float. When you get down the river, give it a go. You can have a bag of fish like that. Let's get these back.
They banished me, never to be seen, to a place where the air's always filled with screams, so hot that the land only grows weeds, a place filled with demons and ghosts on the weeds. Betrayed by some comrades, ep2, I might get you all back. It's not if, no it's when. Better watch out, cause I'm coming for revenge. I'ma train hard, I'ma go far, I will learn with every new scar. Got a cold heart, yeah I'm feeling arc. Enemies give me energy from the start. addiction to winning, so I will work till I get it. The sweat is dripping, I'm in it, I'll never stop till I finish. I'm feeling demons possessing, they took a hold of my vessel, the energy of a devil, yeah. A new man, a new me, better watch out, you ain't never seen a beast. I don't know what's in control.